Right now on the National Weather Desk, tornado damage, twisters. Right now on the National Weather Desk, tornado damage, twisters, damaged homes, and more on Florida's Gulf and Atlantic coasts.
And all of a sudden, it just felt like that, and you couldn't breathe, and I fell backward. All I remember is I woke up on the ground.
It's finally here. We have everything you need to know before tomorrow's annular solar eclipse.
Make sure you have Eclipse ISO certified glasses for viewing and have them on the entire time.
Winter is just around the corner, and Utah's mountain communities are getting ready.
Every single year is different. That's the way it is in the mountains.
We'll look at efforts to save vulnerable monarch butterflies.
We all need to take that additional step to support their population.
And important information about the danger of driving on wet leaves.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Multiple tornadoes damaged homes and businesses across Central Florida early Thursday morning. Communities on both the Gulf Coast and the Atlantic Coast will be cleaning up for some time. The National Weather Service says at least 2 tornadoes hit the cities of Clearwater and Crystal River along the Gulf Coast. There are no reports of major injuries, but damage is extensive. An EF2 tornado struck Flagler County along the Atlantic coast. The wind ripped roofs off homes as residents say they hid in interior rooms or under some mattresses. And in Palm County, officials say multiple families experienced catastrophic property loss when a tornado hit yesterday morning. We have 2 reports on the damage, starting with reporter Daryl Matthews.
We got through it, and at the moment, I'm just happy to be here. It's just a house.
Twisted metal, broken windows, and the roof gone. Just one of the homes with catastrophic damage in the Indians Trails Section B neighborhood in Palm Coast.
I mean, it's a lot, but we're talking. We're lucky to be alive right now, so at the moment, I'm okay. It's going to take a long time to get everything back to even remotely normal.
William Fallett tells Eyewitness News he was leaving for work when the wind from the storm sucked him back in the home. He says once he opened the door, he was knocked to the ground.
It's almost like a suction. You're sitting in there. We're going to go in that bedroom, actually, right there. It's all crushed in. and all of a sudden it just felt like that, and you couldn't breathe, and I fell backward. All I remember is I woke up on the ground. It was like a few seconds later.
He says when he woke up, his mother was there, but through the loud wind and heavy rain, he couldn't see or hear his father. Thankfully, he was okay in the next room.
That is a miracle.
It is.
The roof is literally caved
Gone.
into the room.
That's where we were at. That's where we at, yeah.
Ballard escaped with some cuts on his legs and hands, but his family is okay, and he says it's hard to be upset after the morning he's had.
Because I'm just happy to be here.
Did you expect any of this from this rain system that we thought it was going to be?
No, I never expected it, no. Because there's a lot of trees that were on the ground. There was a car turned over down the street, and there must have been 20 police cars in here. You couldn't even get down the street.
But just a few houses down, Rich Bruscher heard it. Around what time, if you don't mind, did you?
4:47 in the morning.
4:47.
Yep, because I heard the roar, and then I started hearing the crashing and the banging.
That crashing and banging was right in his backyard. You see that trampoline behind him? That's his neighbor's. The grill was on the wall of the house. Now it's in the pool.
The part that irritated me more than anything, I think, was the fence. The fence is such a mess, This is 80 feet right here that's totally gone. That one down that side was 56 feet, and that's not even a month old. I just put that up.
Thankfully, he and his wife are safe, but like many others on their street, they've got a lot of cleaning up to do.
Flooding was the problem in Nebraska. The city of Broken Bow was one of the hardest hit regions. It got more than 5 inches of rain, flooding local streets. Several cars drove through high water. Not a good idea. Remember, it only takes 6 inches of water before tires can lose traction. As the saying goes, turn around, don't drown. Tomorrow, everyone in the continental United States will have a chance to see a solar eclipse. And depending on where you are, you might get to see something called the Ring of Fire. Meteorologist Will Stafford explains what that is and where you can get the best views.
Well, as you've more than likely already heard, a pretty cool thing is happening in the sky this weekend. It's the 2023 solar eclipse. And there is a difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. For this particular eclipse, this is occurring because the moon is passing in between the sun and the earth, and the shadow of the moon is being cast over top of the earth. Parts of the country will get a really good view of this as they will see what's called the Ring of Fire, which is when the moon will cover up almost the entire sun and only a very small little ring on the outer edges will actually be visible. Problem is, most of the country won't see that good of a show. For example, here in Central Virginia, we're only expecting to see about 30% of the actual eclipse. It'll start just after midday and end just after mid-afternoon, with the maximum eclipse, again, in Central Virginia, happening just after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, other parts of the country, however, will see a very good show closer to the actual path of totality. Those locations would primarily be in the western half of the country, from Oregon all the way back down through Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. Right in that path of totality, that's where you'll see the Ring of Fire, with the showing and the impressiveness of the show getting lesser the further north and east that you travel. On top of that, parts of the country will also be dealing with clouds and showers.
And if you don't have the glasses needed to safely check out the eclipse, there's still a way for you to get a great view. Meteorologist Ryan Mirando shows us a DIY eclipse viewer you can make at home.
Tomorrow is that solar annular eclipse. You always want some kind of glasses or protection to view the eclipse. But if you want to have a more fun approach with it, with the kids or the family, you can even make one at home with just some household items. You'll want some kind of box, scissors, paper, tape, a pencil, and some foil. What you're going to want to do first is take the scissors and cut 2 small holes on one side of the box. Then you'll take your foil and you'll tape that over one of them. Then you'll pick up the pencil and you want to put a very small hole in this foil. This is where the sunlight is going to be going through, and we're basically almost done at this step. The last thing is to take your piece of paper and tape it to the inside of the box opposite of those holes, and that last small hole that we didn't touch, that's what you're going to be looking through. And you're going to want to be looking down so that that sunlight comes through that hole in the foil. So when you look at it, this is what it should look like. You should be able to see the moon shadow covering a part of the sun. It's a great alternative and a very fun activity to do for the kids and family.
And in other astronomical news, it turns out our galaxy may weigh less than previously thought. Researchers came to this conclusion using recent measurements from a European Space Agency satellite. They conclude the Milky Way is the combined weight of trillions of suns that are lighter than first thought. The new findings have profound implications for scientists' understanding of dark matter. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor released its weekly map on Thursday, and as you can see here, hardest hit areas remain in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas, along with the plains and the Pacific Northwest. California, much of the Rockies, and the Northeast, and the Atlantic coastline have little to no drought impacts. There's not much change from last week except for some minor improvements in East Texas, and unfortunately there's no rain expected there over the next 7 days. A California community is looking to bounce back after a lengthy drought dried up hundreds of local wells throughout the area. This past wet winter is seen as a chance to help reverse course. Muna Sadik has more on what officials are doing to keep water in the area.
Big changes are happening to Glenn County's water supply. As of January, the area is now home to more than a dozen groundwater recharge projects. That means there are various ponds, gravel pits, and ditches that are actually collecting excess surface water. The water seeps into the ground to help local aquifers. This is water that would have otherwise flowed into the Sacramento River and eventually into the ocean. The Orland Artois Water District, the Glen Groundwater Authority, the city, and local landowners work together to deliver 650 million gallons of water to these sites. That's enough to provide water to 2,500 households for a year. County officials say much of this began when the Groundwater Authority did a per-acre assessment of the area.
It currently is $1.50 an acre, and those fees go towards recharge projects such as this, as well as just the every day-to-day administration to keep the sub-basin going on, the annual reports, the 5-year reports.
We being dependent on water and monitor our wells for years, I mean, we've been very aware of it because we depend on it. We saw the need to be part of the agencies, the groundwater agencies, and be part of the process in the county with the farmers, with the cities.
And we want to remind you about our podcast, Off the Radar. New episodes drop every Tuesday. This week's episode is all about the solar eclipse we've been talking about. You can find Off the Radar wherever you listen to your podcasts. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, there's already snow on the ground in parts of Utah. We'll find out what they're doing to prepare for the winter ahead. And we'll look at what one community is doing to help increase the population of monarch butterflies.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. Temperatures today will top out in the low to mid 60s, which is seasonable for this time of year. The only complaint might be a stiff northwest wind. We'll get some gusts today, 20 to 30 miles per hour. Look for a lot of sunshine. Here we are at about 7 o'clock in the morning. During the afternoon, 3 o'clock or so, look for a lot of sunshine over New York, southern New England. There'll be a few more clouds mixing in farther to the north. Now, a storm system should mostly miss us to the south on Saturday. Southern New York and perhaps southern New England could see a little bit of rain.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Starting off crisp on our Friday morning. As we head into Friday afternoon, some nice-looking temperatures in the 60s to near 70 north, into the 70s south under a good deal of sunshine, but that's in advance of our next weather maker. Notice 2 batches of showers, one north, one south. Those will come together and give us potentially a rainy weekend, especially during the first half on Saturday, so get your umbrellas ready. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Nashville, 76 degrees, 79 in Raleigh compared to 67 in Birmingham. Looking at about 76 in Charleston, 66 Macon. Those 80s still holding on from Jackson down through West Palm, so hot temperatures in Florida. We're looking at some spotty showers across parts of Georgia and then down through the southern tip of Florida. But we'll get a little bit of cloud cover across parts of the mountains and higher elevations of the Carolinas. But this system will continue to push east going through Friday night.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Several inches of snow are already showing up in some parts of the country. Mountain communities in Utah woke up to several inches of snow this week. Ariel Harrison has more on what residents are doing to prepare for the winter ahead.
Make snow angels. For little ones like Brisa Carlson, getting ready for the winter weather
And go in the snow and make snowmen.
means playing in it.
So they've been asking when it's going to be snowing for quite some time.
Her teacher, Nicole, travels up to Brighton from the valley, something that got tricky to do last winter.
There were some days getting up the canyon that it was pretty hard. It took like an hour.
I remember the snow piled up on both sides of the driveway, and it piles up along the roads.
Longtime Brighton resident Barbara Cameron sits on the community council. She works closely with Mayor Dan Knu.
Biggest thing is roadside parking for us. It's just a mess.
Both say changes this year were needed after parking and traffic chaos last season.
So we made no parking on the north side of the road. Now this year we're going to do reserved parking.
The mayor also says work to bury power lines will help prevent outages when the snow piles up.
That's where it all falls.
After a roof avalanche death last year, he says snow removal safety is also a top priority, with overall preparedness as the main goal.
Every single year is different. That's the way it is in the mountains.
Be prepared to be flexible and in awe of what Mother Nature brings. It's quite beautiful.
And it's around this time of year that people start wondering how cold winter might be. The Ron Zahn has a look at some October folklore on predicting winter severity.
There's a lot of weather folklore surrounding the month of October. According to the Farmer's Almanac, if you see a lot of frost and wind in October, January and February will be mild. They also say watch out for plump animals. According to the Farmer's Almanac, if you see a chubby bunny, bird, or badger in October, though you can expect winter to be cold and long. They say the same if you see deer with a gray coat. Now, a milder winter can be expected if you see a lot of gnats in October, at least according to old world folklore. While these old legends have no backing in science, they do add another colorful touch to October, along with the brilliant leaves.
And while not everyone has leaves on the ground yet, some areas where the trees are starting to shed could see some rain this weekend, and that could lead to a real risk when driving. Meteorologist Christina Ernie posted on TikTok about the dangers of driving on wet leaves and what you can do to stay safe.
Fall means falling leaves, which means slick roadways. Wet leaves on the ground can be more slippery than ice, so it's important that you leave more time to stop when you're driving. When you're traveling at 40 miles per hour on a dry day, you should give yourself 80 feet to stop. That's about 5 car lanes. When it's raining, you should at least give yourself double that. But wet leaves are even harder for your car's treads to grip onto, which means you have to stop 250 feet ahead of time. That's 16 cars early, or almost the length of a football field.
If you're looking for more content like that, be sure to check us out on social media, where we post the latest from our team of meteorologists across the country. Just search for the National Weather Desk. In California, one community in the Hollywood Hills is doing its part to help save vulnerable monarch butterflies. The species were near the brink of extinction in 2020, but their numbers are improving. Joy Benedict has more on what's being done to make sure they continue to take flight.
There's something in the air in the Hollywood Hills, as the blooming is a beacon for the butterfly.
1, 2, 3. Something should be coming out of her. You saw the egg?
Oh my God, yeah. The monarch butterflies are laying eggs and flying high, but it's not by accident or even by nature. It's a plan by this community.
One little guy left.
Stephen Pine is raising his monarchs inside.
We don't want them to go extinct.
He says when the Hollywood Knolls Garden Club started telling everyone about the need for milkweed to keep the butterflies alive, he got 2 small plants and ended up with 24 caterpillars.
It looks like an alien takeover at one point when you had all of them just going to town on our plants. They literally chewed them to the nubs of the stalks.
They can smell milkweed for up to 2 miles away.
Charles Malky is the co-chair of the Garden Club and owns a plant product company. He handed out milkweed to his neighbors as it's the only plant the monarch caterpillars can eat.
It's shocking that they've hit the endangered species list last year. We all need to take that additional step to support their populations by dedicating some of our real estate to them.
Especially since this was once their habitat. But scientists say it's not construction killing this winged tiger. It's the herbicide that kills the milkweed and the pesticide that stops the flight.
How bad of shape are they in?
It's been really bad. We probably have only about 1% of the monarchs that we would have seen 40 years ago.
Dr. Jeff Holmquist is an ecologist at UCLA. He says we also can't rule out the effect of climate change.
As the climate changes, we may start to have more of these mismatches between plants and the insects that depend on them.
This weekend marks the end of Hispanic Heritage Month, and today we are highlighting Isha Renta Lopez, a meteorologist with NOAA. She sat down with Emily Gracie to talk about how her childhood in Puerto Rico inspired her to pursue a career in weather and why Hispanic representation at NOAA is so important.
I remember when Hurricane Hugo in 1989 was threatening Puerto Rico and like people were going crazy and I didn't understand exactly what was happening, but I do remember that the image on the TV really got me hooked. Like I was like, what is that white thing? What is that? Like I was very curious about why we were so scared about it. And I wanted to be like the expert. I wanted to be that person that's being interviewed. Like that was kind of like the thing that I had in my head.
So what is your role with NOAA?
So right now I work as the special advisor for the NOAA chief scientist. I've been in this role officially for 1 year, but I've been doing it indirectly without the title for the past 3 years. Basically strategic advising and planning and recommendations to the advisor, mainly in different areas related to weather, related to artificial intelligence, related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we just basically strategic recommendations to the leadership of NOAA.
So can you tell me why it's important to make sure that within NOAA there's diversity, but also within the field of meteorology that Hispanics are represented?
Growing up in Puerto Rico, knowing that the San Juan forecast office, had all these products in Spanish, and I come to the forecast office in Baltimore, Washington, we serve the DC metro area. I'm like, why, we have all these products in Spanish are being produced and are available. Like, why are we not using them? While that was happening, I was then thinking about how can we connect to the Hispanic community? Because the thing is the Hispanic community doesn't necessarily know. Like, I know that people from Puerto Rico are very familiar with the National Weather Service, but people from other countries of, Hispanic origin may not know about the National Weather Service and what kind of products and services are available for them. Having that unique perspective is what gives that unique, growth of ideas and then develop things that may not exist.
Before we take a short break, we take in some views of beautiful Alaska.
Well, good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Phil Kelly. Happy Friday the 13th. The one big weather influence throughout the Midwest and into the Ohio Valley. Cold front going to move through. Notice how chilly temperatures are on the backside with this rain moving through the upper Midwest. 80s into Cincinnati and into Kentucky as that cold front continues to move to the east over the weekend. That rain moves off into the Ohio Valley. Drying but cooler for the end of the weekend.
Good Friday morning to you, meteorologist Chris Suchan. Our forecast today across the region. Well, we do have a cold front slicing across Oklahoma and Texas, so it'll be hot ahead of it and humid. Really not much of a rain chance with that front. Cooler and windy behind it. And then Saturday may get a couple shower storms in South Texas. Otherwise, very cool Saturday morning across the region. And of course, keeping an eye on those eclipse conditions. Could have a little patchy cloudiness around the Rio Grande during the day Saturday.
Well, hi, everybody, and TGIF. It's Friday morning, and out west, we're starting to recover from the big storm that pushed through the Rockies. Sun reappearing around Salt Lake City, and we're warming back up into the low 60s there at the base of the Wasatch. 52 in the wake of the storm in Jackson Hole, 73, a beautiful day in LA, and temps back into the 70s around Seattle. Next weather maker, this big front pushing into western Oregon by our Friday night. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
This weekend has some pretty great football games, and meteorologist Katie Morgan has our football weather forecast.
Well, the football season rolling right along, and boy, we've got some weather to talk about this week. Let's start off with your college games of the week. A lot of rain, especially in Seattle. What would you expect here? Oregon at UW, and temperatures will be in the low 60s here. Looking at some light showers. USC at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, also checking in with a few light rain showers as well. Temperatures a little cooler now, sitting in the mid 50s in Indiana. And we've got Miami in North Carolina at Chapel Hill, looking at a chance for a few showers here, a little warmer with temperatures in the mid 70s. We take a look at some NFL matchups on Sunday. Nice and warm in Las Vegas here. That's where the Patriots will be taking on the Raiders with plenty of sunshine. Seahawks at the Bengals in Cincinnati, also dealing with rain with a temperature around 60 degrees, and always sunny in Florida, right? Temperatures will be in the 80s with plenty of sunshine with the Lions taking on the Buccaneers. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm meteorologist Katie Morgan.
Thank you for joining us. Monday on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how you can beat those seasonal fall allergies. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday.